The workplace isn't just a place to work. It's a complex ecosystem, a place where careers are built or destroyed. Sometimes that destruction doesn't come from incompetence, but from sophisticated psychological tactics, invisible attacks. We call it dark psychology. These are traps set not with force, but with words, behavior, and even silence. Today, we begin to dissect the most dangerous tactics. The ones that might be happening right in front of you, or worse, are aimed directly at you. First, let's talk about gaslighting. This isn't just lying. The gaslighter's goal is to make you lose your bearings, to make you believe your memory is flawed, that your feelings are irrational, that your judgment is wrong. It works like this. It manifests most clearly through blatant denial. You clearly remember your boss approved idea A in last week's meeting. You even took notes. But today, when the project hits a snag, he looks you straight in the eye. "I never said that." He says it with absolute confidence. The colleagues around you who were also there suddenly fall silent. They look down at their desks. You start to question yourself. Did I mishear? Did I imagine it? That tiny seed of doubt is exactly what the manipulator wants to plant. Next, they use your own emotions against you. When you express frustration about being treated unfairly, what response do you get? "You're being too sensitive. You're overreacting. It was just a joke. Why are you making such a big deal?" These statements strip away the validity of your feelings. They turn you, the victim, into the one with the problem, the unprofessional one, the weak one. After this happens repeatedly, you start to hold back. You no longer dare to speak up, afraid of being labeled too sensitive again. You self-censor. But the most sophisticated maneuver is isolating you by withholding information. You aren't added to important emails. You aren't invited to the meeting about the very project you're in charge of. You only find out the project's direction changed after it's already done. When you ask, the answer is a shrug. "Oh, I forgot." A superficial apology. But that isn't forgetfulness. It is deliberate isolation. They want you out of the loop. They want you to fail. And when you do fail, they'll say, "See? I told you. He's not competent." The consequence of gaslighting is psychological exhaustion. It erodes self-confidence. You begin to doubt yourself in every small decision. You lose your ability to make decisions. You become dependent on the very person manipulating you, constantly seeking their validation. It is a psychological prison. Tactic number 2, the scapegoat, or scapegoating. In a healthy organization, when a mistake occurs, the team analyzes the root cause and shares responsibility. But in a toxic environment, when a mistake occurs, the group searches for one person to blame. The need to find a scapegoat is immense. It absolves everyone else of responsibility. It maintains the illusion that the system is fine, only that one individual is the problem. It protects the ego of the leadership. So who is usually chosen as the scapegoat? Often it's the newcomer, the weakest member, the one with no allies, or, ironically, the most talented one, the one who dares to challenge the old ways, the one who threatens others' positions. Turning someone into a scapegoat happens in stages. First, social isolation. They start ignoring your opinions in meetings. You aren't invited to lunch. They create private group chats that exclude you. They make you feel like an outsider. Next is the technique of selective blame. When a project succeeds, it's a team effort, or the boss's brilliant leadership. But when a project fails, a minor detail you were responsible for is dissected. They blow your mistake out of proportion, turning a small error into the cause of the entire failure. The others, to protect themselves, quickly pile on. "That's right, I also noticed an issue with your part. I was going to say something, but..." Suddenly, you are standing alone, against everyone. The truth no longer matters. What matters is that the mob has found its victim. Scapegoating is dangerous, because it doesn't just destroy one person's career. It creates a culture of fear, a place where no one dares to take risks. No one dares to innovate. Everyone is focused on one thing, making sure they aren't the next scapegoat. This culture kills innovation. It encourages mediocrity. People stop sharing ideas, afraid that if the idea fails, they will become the target. But not all attacks are loud. There isn't always a goat publicly sacrificed. The most sophisticated dark psychology often happens in silence. We call it the workplace Cold War. Tactic number 3. This is the domain of passive aggression, where hostility is hidden behind seemingly innocuous behaviors. Its primary weapon is silence. You walk into the morning meeting. You say, "Good morning, everyone." A few people nod. The main manipulator, perhaps a boss or an influential colleague, ignores you completely, as if you are thin air, as if you don't exist. During the meeting, you present an idea. They don't object. They just stay silent. And then they move on to the next topic, as if you never said a word. This isn't mere rudeness. This is a power message. A message that says, you are irrelevant. Your opinion is worthless. This silence is contagious. It sends a signal to others that associating with you is dangerous, that you are in trouble. The isolation begins. Gradually, people hesitate to talk to you. They fear the collateral damage. They don't want to be the next target. You aren't fired. You aren't reprimanded. You are simply socially erased. The victim of this tactic starts to wonder, what did I do wrong? They try to work harder, try to please everyone. But the harder they try, the deeper they sink. They are trying to win over people who have already decided to discard them. This is an invisible emotional burnout. The second form of this Cold War is undermining. It targets your performance. The manipulator will never openly obstruct you. Instead, they use delay. You need report data from their department. You send an email. No one replies. You call. They say it's in process. The deadline approaches. You panic. You look like you can't plan. At 5 p.m. on the deadline day, they send the file. But the file is corrupted, or it's missing half the critical information. You fail to complete the report on time. You look unprofessional. In the meeting the following week, the boss asks why. The manipulator shakes their head. I sent him the file. Maybe he doesn't know how to manage his time. They come out clean. They helped. You, on the other hand, suffer the consequences. They weaponize their own incompetence or their deliberate delay to derail you. This is a strike that leaves no trace. It turns your performance into a weapon against you, while the attacker maintains the image of a diligent colleague. They push you into a position of failure, then stand aside and shake their head in pity at your incompetence. Attacks by silence and sabotage are cruel, but there is a tactic that is even more dangerous because it comes disguised as kindness. It exploits one of the most basic human social instincts, the instinct to give and take. And that brings us to tactic number 4, the favor trap or debt trap. It starts small. A colleague buys you a coffee. It's nothing, just a small thing. A manager lets you leave early on a Friday. Family matters, I get it. Go take care of your kid. A senior colleague spends time teaching you a new skill. They are very patient, very kind. These actions are not generosity. They are investments. They create a psychological debt, a feeling of owing them. We humans have an innate instinct for reciprocity. We hate the feeling of being indebted to someone. The manipulator knows this, and they exploit it. A few weeks later, the trap springs. The colleague who bought you coffee now asks you to overlook a small error in his report. It's a small thing. We're friends. Help me out this one time. You feel awkward. You remember the coffee. You compromise. You agree. You have just compromised your standards for a cup of coffee. The manager who let you leave early now asks you to work all weekend on a project unrelated to the company. It might even be his personal project. Unpaid. We help each other out, right? You're trapped. If you refuse now, you risk being seen as ungrateful, as unreasonable, as not a team player. The favor trap is dangerous because it blurs the line between a colleague and a creditor. It turns kindness into a currency for transaction. The manipulator doesn't give orders. They make you want to do what they want. And if you refuse, they don't attack you. They act as if they are the victim. They express disappointment. I never thought you were that kind of person. After everything I've done for you. They make you feel guilty. They reverse the roles, turning you into the bad guy. This tactic destroys company culture from the inside. It replaces performance with a currency of personal favors. A healthy workplace is based on clarity. Those who do well are rewarded. Those who make mistakes are disciplined. But when the favor trap appears, everything becomes blurry. Decisions are no longer based on business logic, but on who owes who. Those who refuse to participate in this network of debt, despite being effective, are marginalized. They are seen as not sociable, inflexible. Eventually, the company is left only with people who are good at exchanging favors, not people who are good at doing the work. The tactics we've analyzed, from gaslighting to the favor trap, are all personal attacks. They come from one individual or a small group aimed at another individual. But there is a form of manipulation that is even larger. It isn't a single tactic. It is an ideology, a trap designed at the entire organizational level, disguised as kindness and community. This is the fifth and most encompassing tactic, weaponizing the family culture. You've heard it before. In the job interview, the CEO says, "Here, we aren't just colleagues, we are a family." It sounds so warm. It appeals to our most basic human need, the need to belong, to be part of a tribe, a safe place. But in a corporate context, the word family is extremely dangerous, because a real family is built on unconditional love. A company, by its very nature, is a conditional transaction. You perform, you get paid. You fail to perform, you get fired. A company cannot love you unconditionally. So why do they use the word family? They use it to blur the boundaries. When the company is a family, professional expectations are replaced with expectations of emotional loyalty. The first and most obvious manifestation, the abuse of your time. In a family, you help out without keeping score. Your mother doesn't pay you to do the dishes. Your brother doesn't demand a fee for helping you move. The family company applies this same logic. Your boss calls you at 10 p.m. "Hey, can you help me with this? It's urgent, the family needs you." You are asked to work all weekend, no overtime, no extra pay. If you complain, if you demand your legal rights under labor law, what response do you get? Are you trying to nickel and dime your family? Why are you being so petty? Everyone is sacrificing for the common goal. They don't attack your professionalism. They attack your moral character. They turn you into the selfish one, the one outside the circle of trust. The second manifestation, the invasion of personal boundaries. In a family, everyone knows everything about each other. In a family company, privacy doesn't exist. Colleagues ask you deeply personal questions. Who are you dating? How much does your husband make? Why don't you have kids yet? The boss intervenes in your personal decisions. Don't buy a house there, it's too far. It's not convenient for the company. They justify this nosiness as caring. We just want what's best for you. But in reality, this is a form of control. When they know your weaknesses, they know how to manipulate you. They know when you are financially vulnerable, when you are emotionally unstable, and they will use that information to pressure you. But the most dangerous manifestation of the family culture is when you want to leave. In a normal company, when you quit, it's a business decision. You found a better opportunity. The company wishes you luck and begins the handover process. In a family company, when you quit, you are a traitor. You aren't just leaving a job, you are betraying the people who loved you. A manager will call you into a private room. They won't talk about money. They will talk about feelings. I thought of you as a younger brother. I am so disappointed in you. After everything we've been through together, you're really leaving for a few extra dollars? They use guilt as a heavy weapon. They make you feel like you are an ungrateful, terrible person. Many people falter. They withdraw their resignation, not because the job is good, but because they cannot bear the psychological weight of being labeled a traitor. The family culture is often supported by a powerful tool, the sunk cost fallacy. When family loyalty isn't enough to keep you, they bring up the past. They say, "You've already dedicated 5 years to this place. If you leave now, aren't you just throwing those 5 years away?" They anchor you, not with the future, but with the past. The human psyche has a deep fear of loss. We would rather continue with a bad decision than accept that the time and effort we've already spent is wasted. Manipulators understand this. They constantly remind you of what you've already invested. We've already poured so much effort into this failing project. Let's just try a little longer. They want you to keep pouring more effort into a bottomless pit. The combination of family loyalty and sunk costs creates a perfect prison. You are exhausted. You know you need to leave, but you feel guilty if you go, and you feel wasteful if you stop. The result is burnout. But this isn't burnout from working too hard. This is emotional exhaustion. You are exhausted from having to constantly perform, to play the role of the dutiful child, the devoted sibling. You are not allowed to be a professional employee who has clear boundaries and demands fair compensation. You must sacrifice yourself for a family that the moment you are no longer useful will fire you without a second thought. That is the harshest truth of this psychological game. After dissecting the 5 dark psychology tactics, from personal attacks like gaslighting to the systemic trap known as the family culture, we face a critical question. Recognizing them is the first step. But what do we do next? How do you protect yourself when you're standing on a chessboard unaware that you are a pawn? The answer isn't about trying to change the manipulator. You can't. Trying to change a gaslighter is as futile as trying to convince a shark to be a vegetarian. You will only waste your time and turn yourself into their meal. The answer lies in changing yourself, changing your reaction, changing your boundaries. The first and most powerful defensive action is documentation. Manipulators thrive in ambiguity. They rely on your short-term memory. They rely on verbal conversations with no proof. I never said that. You misunderstood me. The weapon against ambiguity is written clarity. Create a record, not for revenge, but to protect your reality. After every important meeting, especially one-on-one meetings where vague directives are given, send a summary email. Hi, name. Just to confirm what we agreed upon, point A will be implemented by Tuesday. Point B is pending approval. Please confirm. This email has 2 purposes. 1, it forces the manipulator to confirm your version of the truth in writing. 2, if they remain silent, that silence is also a form of agreement. The next time they say, I never said that, you have proof. On October 5th, I sent this email and you did not dispute it. This technique immediately neutralizes a gaslighting attack. The manipulator will realize you are not an easy target. They will be wary. The second line of defense, setting boundaries. A boundary isn't a wall to keep everyone out. A boundary is a locked door, and you hold the key. You decide who gets in, when they get in, and how long they get to stay. This is the antidote to the family culture and the favor trap. First is a boundary of time. The family company wants you available 24/7. What is your boundary? Maybe it's, I do not answer work messages after 7 p.m. unless it is a true emergency. When your boss texts you at 10 p.m. about something non-urgent, don't reply. Reply at 8 a.m. the next morning. Good morning. I saw your message. I will handle this now. You are silently training them that your personal time is non-negotiable. That boundary must also apply to social transactions. This is a boundary of favors. When someone tries to set a favor trap, I bought you coffee. Now overlook this error for me. Your boundary is firmness. I really appreciated the coffee the other day, but I cannot overlook this error. It's against procedure. You separate the 2 transactions. The coffee was a gift. The work is the work. They won't be happy, but they will respect you. And just as important is the boundary of information. When colleagues dig too deep into your private life, how much does your husband make? Why don't you have kids yet? Don't answer. Use a polite but firm response. Thank you for your concern, but I'm not comfortable discussing my personal life at work. Repeat as necessary. Keep your tone calm, not angry. You do not owe them an explanation. The third line of defense when facing direct attacks like scapegoating or the Cold War is to use the gray rock method. Manipulators, especially narcissists, crave emotional reactions. They want to see you angry. They want to see you cry. They want to see you lose control. Because when you lose control, they win. The gray rock method means you refuse to give them that energy. Become as boring as a gray rock. When they deliberately ignore you in a meeting, Don't look annoyed. Remain neutral. When they blame you unreasonably, don't shout to defend yourself. Respond with facts, briefly and without emotion. The data was sent on the 5th. My report was based on that data. Just the facts. Zero emotion. The manipulator will quickly get bored. They are like an actor on a stage with no audience. They will go find another target, someone who is willing to perform with them. Finally, after you've documented, set boundaries, and become a gray rock, there will be times when nothing changes. The environment is toxic to its core. You cannot heal a rotten system. This is when you must make the final choice. Realize that you cannot win. You can only survive. And sometimes, survival means leaving. Look the sunk cost fallacy straight in the eye. I've already been here for 5 years. Those 5 years are gone. You cannot get them back. The only question that matters is, do you want to lose another 5 years? Leaving a toxic environment is not failure. It is not giving up. It is graduation. It is the ultimate act of self-preservation. It is a declaration that your mental health, your self-respect, and your future are more important than a job, more important than the fear of waste. Close that door and never look back. Because the greatest asset you have isn't your job, it's you. Have you ever had to use the gray rock tactic or set a hard boundary? Share your experience below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this type of content, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next video.